Howdy ego hackers, my name is Samwise, and welcome back. In our previous video, we talked about the transformation from the hero to the warrior, which basically is just give up some of that pride. And now today we're talking about the teenager function. We mentioned the parent function in the past, where we said it was the part of our mind that was focused on responsibility, but today we're introducing that teenager function, which is the pre-evolution of the parent function. The teenage function is the representation of the underdeveloped, less mature version of the parent. I'll begin by contrasting the two. The mature parent function represents our developed, more positive traits that are associated with responsibility, whereas the teenager function is the underdeveloped counterpart that's often irresponsible and negligent. We tend to say underdeveloped parent or immature parent instead of teenager, but understand these are interchangeable. To demonstrate the two, I'm going to talk about an ISTP having a hard time cleaning their room. ISTPs have introverted intuition child. Their NI child within them might resist the idea of cleaning their room because they just don't want to do it. And their SE teenager, who is immature and irresponsible, will just sit there and play indifferent and not consider the broader implications of their actions. However, a well-developed SE parent would intervene. He'd put his hand on the shoulder of the NI child and say, "Son, we're cleaning your room today." "Well, why are we cleaning my room? I don't want to." "Well, because a messy room is not a great experience for visitors or the people of your house, roommates, etc. Like, needing to watch your step as you walk so you don't trip on tighty-whities is unnecessary stress for other people, and you need to give them a good experience. And check it out! It's squeaky clean now. Do you see the parallels of how teenager traits are just underdeveloped versions of the parent? That being said, let's dive into each of the 8 teenager functions, and we're going to sprinkle some ideas on how to mature that into a parent function. We'll examine their negative aspects, how they contrast with the parent functions, and find some ways to develop them. Starting with extrovert thinking teenager, represented by INTJs and ISTJs. This function can be seen as irresponsible with reasoning, entrusting unreliable data sources, or straight up just going with how they feel with their FI child. Unlike the TE parent, which is diligent in research and data verification, the teenager aspect tends to accept information without critical scrutiny. To develop this teenager trait, one must practice evaluating the credibility of information, sources, and engage in thorough research before forming opinions. Try this, ITJs. If you have an opinion on a topic with your FI child, could you argue for the side that you're against? If you're not able to do this, you need to get that teenager function out of those ripped jeans into something more adult-like khakis. Remember, TE teenager, this is your goal. A mature extrovert thinking parent function represents responsible data analysis and informed decision-making. Strive for a balanced approach in evaluating information. Moving on to introverted thinking teenager. TI teenager is seen within ENTPs and ESTPs. This function can be careless in verifying information, often assuming its correctness without thorough examination, or its incorrectness. Contrast that with TI parent, which is diligent and accurate with its verification process. To develop this function, one must practice questioning and verifying information rigorously, not just accepting things at face value. ETPs, take a moment to reflect on your TI teenager. Are you quick to dismiss ideas without fully considering them? Challenge yourself to engage with perspectives that contradict your own. Read thought-provoking nonfiction, and practice the Socratic method to enhance critical thinking. If it's challenging to open up to differing viewpoints, it indicates a need for your TI teenager to mature into a more critically thinking and open-minded individual. The TI parent excels in critical thinking and thorough understanding. Aim to develop a nuanced approach to information and ideas. It's hard to have a thorough understanding of things if you dismiss ideas immediately. Next on the plate is FE teenager, found within INFJs and ISFJs. FE teenager can manifest as being overbearing with social norms, sometimes forcing harmful rules onto other people. The FE parent, in contrast, is understanding and empathetic. Development involves learning to balance social expectations with individual needs and practicing empathy. INFJs and ISFJs. Examine your FE teenager. When you're enforcing social norms, ask yourself, are these rules truly beneficial, or are they potentially harmful? It's crucial to evolve your FE teenager to be more empathetic and lose some of that TI child God complex. Be a little more focused on the pain of others instead of your correct quote-unquote. A developed FE parent function skillfully balances empathy with social expectations. Work towards understanding and accommodating diverse emotional needs. And sometimes, you do have to go against the social grain. Good thing your subconscious is pragmatic. Up next is introverted feeling teenager. FI teenager is seen within ENFPs and ESFPs. They often struggle with issues of self-worth and entitlement simultaneously. It's weird. Unlike the mature FI parent, which is grounded in tested principles, the teenager version can lead to unwarranted feelings of entitlement or critical self-worth issues. To mature this function, it's important to cultivate gratitude and empathy, grounding one's self-worth in realistic, ethical principles. ESPs, reflect on your FI teenager. Do you find yourself feeling entitled or self-absorbed? Little too you-focused. Try viewing situations from an outsider's perspective. If it's challenging to step out of your own shoes and step into someone else's, it's time to mature your FI teenager into being the sympathetic FI parent the world desperately needs. Your goal as an FI parent is to become grounded in a moral code, a moral system, that gives sympathy to others. And now we're going to talk about my teenager function. Extroverted intuition teenager. Oh, INTPs and INFPs. For the any teenager, irresponsibility in predicting consequences is pretty common because they often just get lost in their own fantasies. Or they just think, you know what? I can endure this bad thing happening. It won't be that bad. What about for other people's futures? Not just your comfort. The any parent, however, uses foresight to protect. Development involves learning to balance imagination with realistic assessments of possible outcomes. INPs. Let's look at your any teenager. I get you're comfortable, because we tend to just vibe in our own minds a lot of the time. But this can often lead to a sort of stagnation, where you just do nothing. Or indulge in a lot of negative things. Consider what other people want or are drawn to. You know, like clean your room. Being a slob kind of grosses other people out and they don't really want you. Don't keep your minimum wage job because that's what you're used to, or, you know, some excuse like, oh, I just kind of like the people there. I'm scared to expand my horizons. Money is a way to give other people better futures. Give more options to the NI users in your life. A mature any parent guides other people's futures. And it's hard to give people warnings and advice when we don't have any experience beyond our comfort levels. Up next on the chopping block is introverted intuition teenager, found within ENTJs and ENFJs. They can be impulsive, wanting things that may not be beneficial or something substantial for the long term. This contrasts with the careful decision-making of the NI parent. To develop this, it's important to practice reflection and consider long-term consequences of immediate desires. ENJs, it's crucial to evaluate your NI teenager. Are your actions often driven by immediate desires, neglecting broader consequences? Take a step back and assess the long-term implications of what you pursue. Practicing strategic planning and foresight is key. Things like, in 10 years, I want to be an entrepreneur, or I want 4 kids before I'm 30, or by the end of the year, I want a 6-pack. These are the goals that will drive you. If you find it difficult to think ahead or to temper impulsive decisions with prudent planning, this is a sign that your NI teenager needs some nurturing. Your goal as an NI parent is to bring visionary foresight and strategic planning. Enhance your ability to consider long-term implications and holistic views. Your desire for something meaningful will make other people go, oh my gosh, that is a thing that can happen. I want to pursue something like that. Moving on to extrovert sensing teenager, found within ISTPs and ISFPs. They often cut corners and overlook safety concerns and other people's comfort. Unlike the SE parent, which is meticulous and safety conscious, the teenager version acts without considering the impact on others. Development involves learning to appreciate the importance of thoroughness and the impact of actions on the environment and others. ISPs, it's time to evaluate your SE teenager. Are you often cutting corners or neglecting safety? Try consciously prioritizing thoroughness and the well-being of others in your actions. Does me road raging make my passengers uncomfortable? Does me going to work while I'm sick put my coworkers at risk of being sick? If this feels unnatural to you, your SE teenager needs to work on that. And you want to. Because the SE parent is about consideration within your actions and the awareness of the present. Strive for attentiveness to detail and consider the impact of your actions. People will like you more, and or think more highly of you. And lastly, the SI teenager. Characteristic of ESFJs and ESTJs. SI teenager can come from a lack of self-discipline and neglecting duties. The SI parent is dedicated and reliable, To develop this teenager function, one should focus on building self-discipline, recognizing the importance of duties, and maintaining a healthy balance between obligations and personal health. ESJs. Ask yourself this. Do you find yourself shirking duties or you lack discipline? Challenge yourself to adhere to commitments and embrace a more structured approach. Challenge yourself to adhere to a regiment and embrace a more structured approach. If this is hard for you, it's a sign that your SI teenager needs to develop a stronger sense of duty and responsibility. Have things like a morning routine, with things like reading a book or working out. Have a healthy eating habit. Weekly date nights. You get the idea. Make it conscious. Your goal as a mature SI parent is to embody reliability and to develop a consistent and disciplined approach to your responsibilities. It's hard to rely on SI parent if it's not consistent. In today's world, the need for individuals with fully developed parent functions is more critical than ever. Whether we're addressing personal challenges, navigating complex interpersonal dynamics, or seeking solutions to societal issues, like ending fatherlessness or something, the maturity and responsibility fostered by these functions are indispensable. We hope that you take these suggestions to heart and embark on a journey of self-improvement and growth. I will add one caveat. The parent function, at least within the ego, is the last to develop. That's why you need to develop your inferior function, to get over some of those fears so you can take that responsibility. That being said, I recommend you go to csjoseph.life and check out EYF, or Ego Hacking Your Fear. The course is designed for each of the 16 personality types with their own unique formats to understanding their fear and anxieties and the quote-unquote curse of the inferior. You'll understand the relationship of fear and how it cripples your mind. You will receive a map that gives you the steps on how to navigate through your fears, and you can aspire and give the world your best you. Become liberated today. Check out EYF at csjoseph.life. To wrap this up, we've explored the teenager function, the impact and the importance of developing them into the mature parent function. I encourage you to reflect on your own teenager traits and consider how you might develop them further. In our next video, we'll delve into the youth function. Stay tuned for that, and have a great day, Ego Hackers.